Hey family, welcome back. We're continuing our reading of the Bible. We're on the Jehovah's Witness Bible. We're on Numbers chapter 21, starting on verse 1. Now the Canaanite, the king of Arad, who dwelt in the Negeb, got to hear that Israel had come by the way of Atharim, and he began to fight with Israel, and carry away some of them as captives. Consequently Israel made a vow to Jehovah and said, "If you will without fail give this people into my hand, I shall also certainly devote their cities to destruction." So Jehovah listened to Israel's voice and gave the Canaanites over, and they devoted them and their cities to destruction. Hence they called the name of the place Hormah. While they continued trekking from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom, the soul of the people began tiring out because of the way. And the people kept speaking against God and Moses. "Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread and no water, and our soul has come to abhor the contemptible bread." So Jehovah sent poisonous serpents among the people, and they kept biting the people, so that many people of Israel died. Finally the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned because we have spoken against Jehovah and against you. Intercede with Jehovah that he may remove the serpents from upon us." And Moses went interceding in behalf of the people. Then Jehovah said to Moses, "Make for yourself a fiery snake, and place it upon a signal pole. And it must occur that when anyone has been bitten, he then has to look at it and so must keep alive." Moses at once made a serpent of copper, and placed it upon the signal pole. And it did occur that if a serpent had bitten a man, and he gazed at the copper serpent, he then kept alive. I don't think very many people remember the copper serpent story. I know I didn't. After that the sons of Israel pulled away and encamped in Oboth. Then they pulled away from Oboth and encamped in Iyabarim, in the wilderness that is toward the front of Moab, toward the rising of the sun. From there they pulled away and took up camping by the torrent valley of Zered. From there they pulled away and went camping into the region of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that extends from the border of the Amorites, for Arnon is the boundary of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. That is why it is said in the book of the wars of Jehovah, Vaheb in Supah and the torrent valleys of Arnon, and the mouth of the torrent valleys which has bent itself toward the seat of Ar, and has leaned against the border of Moab. Next from there on to Beer, this is the well about which Jehovah said to Moses, "Gather the people, and let me give them water." At that time Israel proceeded to sing this song. Alright, let's hear this catchy tune. "Spring up, O well, respond to it, you people. A well, princes dug it, the nobles of the people excavated it, with a commander's staff, with their own staffs." It's the end of the song. Very interesting song. Then from the wilderness on to Matana, and from Matana on to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel on to Baamoth, and from Baamoth on to the valley that is in the field of Moab, at the head of Pisgah, and it projects over toward the face of Jeshimon. Israel now sent messengers to Sihon, the king of the Amorites, saying, "Let me pass through your land. We shall not turn off into a field or a vineyard. We shall drink water of no well. On the king's road we shall march until we pass through your territory." And Sihon did not allow Israel to pass through his territory. But Sihon gathered all his people and went out to meet Israel in the wilderness, and came to Jahaz, and began fighting with Israel. At that Israel struck him with the edge of the sword, and took possession of his land, from the Arnon to the Jabbok near the sons of Ammon, because Jazer is the border of the sons of Ammon. So Israel took all these cities, and Israel began dwelling in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon, and all its dependent towns. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon. He was the king of the Amorites, and it was he who fought with the king of Moab formerly and went taking all his land out of his hand as far as the Arnon. That is why the sayers of mock verses would say, "Come to Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and be proved firmly set up. For a fire has come out of Heshbon, a flame from the town of Sihon. It has consumed all of Moab, the owners of the high places of the Arnon. Woe to you, Moab! You will certainly perish. O people of Chemosh, he will certainly give his sons as escaped ones, and his daughters in the captivity to the king of the Amorites. Sihon, let us shoot at them. Heshbon will certainly perish up to Dibon, and the women up to Nophah, the men up to Medeba." That's the end of the verse song. It doesn't have a tune. Maybe I'm just not that good of a choir singer. And Israel began to dwell in the land of the Amorites. Then Moses sent some to spy on Jazer. Okay, interesting. Hold on. So they captured its dependent towns and dispossessed the Amorites who were there. After that they turned and went up by the way of Bashan. At this Og the king of Bashan came out to meet them, he and all his people, to the battle of Edrei. Jehovah now said to Moses, "Do not be afraid of him, for into your hand I shall certainly give him and all his people and his land, and you must do to him just as you did to Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who used to dwell in Heshbon." So they went striking him and his sons, all his people, until there was no survivor remaining to him, and they went taking possession of his land, so not one man standing. Numbers chapter 22, verse 1. Then the sons of Israel pulled away and encamped on the desert plains of Moab, across the Jordan from Jericho, and Balak the son of Zippor got to see all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab became very frightened at the people, because they were many, and Moab began to feel a sickening dread of the sons of Israel. And Moab proceeded to say to older men of Midian, "Now this congregation will lick up all our surroundings like the bull licking up the green growth of the field." And Balak the son of Zippor was king of Moab at the particular time. He now sent messengers to Balaam the son of Beor and Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the sons of his people, to call him, saying, "Look, a people has come out of Egypt. Look, they have covered the earth as far as one can see, and they are dwelling right in front of me. And now do we come, please do curse this people for me, for they are mightier than I am. Perhaps I may be able to strike them, and I may drive them out of the land. For I well know that the one whom you bless is a blessed one, and the one whom you curse is cursed." So the older men of Moab and the older men of Midian traveled with the payments for divination in their hands, and went to Balaam, and spoke to him Balak's words. At that he said to them, "Lodge here tonight, and I shall certainly return you word, just as Jehovah may speak to me." Accordingly, the princes of Moab stayed with Balaam. Okay, so the princes of Moab. Interesting. Then God came to Balaam and said, "Who are these men with you?" So Balaam said to the true God, "Balak the son of Zippor, the king of Moab, has sent to me, saying, Look, the people who are coming out of Egypt, and they go covering the earth as far as the eye can see. Now do come, do execrate them for me. Perhaps I may be able to fight against them, and I shall actually drive them out." God is asking Balaam. Balaam in Mayan means jaguar. That's pretty cool. Well. I don't remember this dialogue of Jehovah talking to Balaam, so indeed we've refreshed our memory with the copper snake and Moab. Interesting.